Hey up guys, so continuing the award season coverage, today on the channel I'm going to be doing a deep dive discussion and prediction on another Oscar category which has got me pulling out my hair, and that is Best Actor. In this category we have Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for the Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. A Best Actor category comprised of only first-time nominees ever at the Academy Awards. Okay, that hasn't happened since 1935, okay, which is insane. And what's really cool is that one of these men is gonna be an Oscar winner for the first ever nomination. Facts are facts. The race for Best Actor this year has been all over the place. We've had early frontrunners, and we've had the pullback, then we had like a three-way race, and now it kind of feels like we're down to two. While it would be very easy for me to say, okay, just predict whoever won the BAFTA Best Actor winner, because that's our most reliable precursor. The last 9 years in a row, the Best Actor winner at BAFTA has matched at the Oscars, meaning that Austin Butler is the most logical pick to win this. He's the bookie's favorite to win the Oscar. But this would be a very quick deep dive video if it was that simple, if Austin Butler just had it in the bag. I do think he's in the best position to win the Oscar, but is he a lock to win it? Nope, he's not a lock. This race has been far from conventional this year, and we haven't seen Austin Butler sweep all the precursors. There is still a pathway for someone like Brendan Fraser or even Colin Farrell to win this. Farrell won the Volpe Cup at Venice, the Golden Globe comedy category, and he's also the nominee in this category who's won the most critics prizes in total. Brendan Fraser won some critics prizes, as well as the Critics' Choice Award precursor, and most recently the SAG. And Austin Butler won the Golden Globe drama and the BAFTA, but weirdly not a whole lot of critics prizes. Yes, he's won a lot of breakout star awards, but Best Actor in critics groups, not so much. But still, he is going into Oscars night with two significant wins, the Golden Globe and the BAFTA, so that is an intimidating package going into the Oscars. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of our frontrunners in this category, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the other contenders in this category, Paul Mescal and Bill Nighy. I'm so happy that Bill Nighy has finally received his first Oscar nomination at age 73. It's nice to finally see him get some acknowledgement from the Academy. He's had an incredible career, and it's also lovely to see a nice, gentler, softer performance like his in Living, get acknowledged at the Oscars. Usually, these types of performances like Nighy's tend to get lost in the sea of showier, bigger leading men performances that we get throughout the year. They don't always make the Oscars ballot, so I'm very happy that he made it in. For him, this really is a case of the nomination being a victory in itself. I can't see him winning the Oscar, sorry. Even though he has placed to all the significant precursors alongside Butler, Fraser, and Farrell, Nighy hasn't won anything substantial, so yeah, I don't think he's got a chance of winning the Oscar. But I'm happy to see that he's nominated. And then there's Paul Mescal for his beautiful, subtle, devastatingly effective performance in Aftersun. He is the only nomination for Aftersun, which is a travesty. Aftersun was one of the best movies of 2022, but if Aftersun was only gonna get one Oscar nomination, I'm glad it went to Paul Mescal. And if I'm being completely honest, if I decided who won at the Oscars, I would pick Paul Mescal. It's a powerful performance that doesn't resort to big, emotional, gushy moments in order for it to be powerful. It's actually quite rare to see a performance like Paul Mescal's even nominated at the Oscars. It's a very natural, nuanced, reactive, and understated performance. And I would love to see more performances like this nominated at the Oscars in the future, okay, Academy? Mescal conveys more with what he's not saying than what he is saying in this film. That is real skill as an actor. And he's doing all this at age 26. Just imagine what he's gonna be doing in like 10 years' time. But yeah, he's Aftersun's only nomination, and he's also the youngest nominee in any of the acting categories this year. 26 when he's nominated, he's 27 now. But yeah, sadly, I just don't think it's gonna go to Paul Mescal this year. If it did, I would lose my shit. Let's talk about Colin Farrell. For the longest time, Colin Farrell seemed like a legit contender to win Best Actor at the Oscars. Like, he beat Brendan Fraser to the Volpe Cup at Venice, okay? Like, people really like this performance. He also had this amazing year in 2022. Like, he was in so many critically acclaimed projects like After Yang, 13 Lives, and The Batman. Okay, his versatility as an actor really was on display this year. Banshees is also a very well-liked film. The Academy clearly loved it. They gave it 9 nominations, including Best Picture. And him being the leading man in a serious Best Picture contender, as well as winning all these critics' prizes, the Volpe Cup and the Golden Globe comedy, it put him in a prime position to be the frontrunner for Best Actor. But Along came the BAFTAs, where Colin Farrell was, favorited to win there on his home turf, but he lost to Austin Butler. At that point, that's when it really started to crystallize that Colin Farrell doesn't have as much of a chance to win the Oscar this year. You see, the thing is, the problem with Colin Farrell's performance is that it doesn't really align with the Academy's taste for a Best Actor win. Typically, they go for the transformative performances, but Colin Farrell's performance is far from that. It's more subtle and earnest. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a terrific performance, but it's really hard to try and think of a Best Actor winning performance at the Oscars that I can compare it to. The closest performances that I can compare Colin Farrell's to would be, firstly, Olivia Colman's half comedic, half tragic performance in The Favourite, which she won for, as well as Casey Affleck's morose, melancholy performance in Manchester by the Sea, who also won Best Actor. However, if Colin Farrell was going to win, we would have seen more signs of that by now. A BAFTA win or a SAG win. And it's just not happened. And yes, while I'm not confident predicting Colin Farrell to win the Oscar, I can't rule him out completely. Again, because he is the lead actor in a really celebrated movie at the Oscars. Banshees had 9 nominations and it's got Best Picture, okay? That's hard to rule out completely. Could Colin Farrell pull off a surprise and only win the Oscar with a Golden Globe win? It just seems very unlikely. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna go to Colin Farrell this year. Which leaves us with our 2 frontrunners, Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler. Let's start off with Brendan Fraser, okay? What's working for him and what's working against him? Well, Brendan Fraser has had a very up and down journey throughout award season. After rave reviews out of Venice, Brendan Fraser seemed like our early frontrunner for Best Actor. His comeback performance as Charlie in Darren Aronofsky's The Whale ticked all the right boxes. A gut-punching performance that's transformative. They used a lot of makeup to turn him into Charlie. He also had a real comeback narrative into the industry after kind of being discarded for the past 10 years. And he also left audiences bawling their eyes out at his seriously heartbreaking performance in The Whale. And Brendan Fraser received countless standing ovations around the world. Okay, people were just so happy to see Brendan Fraser on top of the world again. But after the dust settled from his triumphant return, the backlash kicked in. As more and more people saw the movie, more criticism and backlash arrived for the film. Some people called into question whether Brendan Fraser was the right actor to portray a 600-pound gay man when he is neither of those things in real life. Some people were saying the film is problematic and fatphobic. Now in a climate where we're having more discussions about opportunities for obese actors and queer actors, is it problematic or insensitive to reward a performance that deprives a maybe more suitable actor for the part? It's hard to say because Hollywood is a business and it's unlikely a film like The Whale would have ever been greenlit without a big name like Brendan Fraser's attached to it. I also think The Whale wouldn't have been as financially successful without Brendan Fraser. The Whale may have struggled critically, but commercially it was a success. The Whale only cost $3 million to make and grossed over $28 million worldwide. That's the second highest grossing A24 film of the entire year after Everything Everywhere's triumphant 107 million and counting taking at the box office. So yeah, it's the second highest grossing A24 film of the year and the 12th highest grossing A24 film of all time. Financially, this movie was a huge success. Audiences went to see this low-budget indie movie. Okay, that is rare to see in today's cinema landscape. But I think a large appealing factor of that was down to Fraser himself and the word of mouth that had surrounded his performance out of Venice and TIFF. And audiences were more fond of it than critics. It got a 7.7 on Metacritic, it's sitting at 91% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 7.8 on IMDb. So clearly The Whale is a polarizing movie. It's like Babylon. It's one of those films I saw on so many people's top 10 movies of the year list and so many people's top 10 worst movies of the year lists. And if some voters don't like the film, will they want to award Fraser? Looking at his precursor wins, Brendan Fraser has the Critics' Choice Award and the SAG Award. That's not a bad package. He lost out at Golden Globes to Austin Butler, but it makes sense why he wouldn't win there anyways, because before the nominations were even announced, Brendan Fraser publicly said that if he were to be nominated, he would not attend the ceremony due to his past history with the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, Philip Burke, who allegedly sexually assaulted Fraser in 2003, and Fraser didn't want to attend because he didn't want to be seen as a hypocrite. And I respect that. With Golden Globe voters knowing that Brendan Fraser was not going to be in attendance at the ceremony and able to give a speech if he did win Best Actor, did that help pave the way for Austin Butler to win? Maybe it did. Maybe Brendan Fraser's kind of responsible for Austin Butler's eventual win at the Oscars, because it gave Austin Butler his first significant win there. And I do have to wonder, if Brendan Fraser was in attendance at the Golden Globes, would he have potentially won? It's hard to say, because Butler's performance does feel more of a Golden Globe type winning performance than Brendan Fraser's. But maybe Fraser would have won if he had been in attendance. We don't know. What do you guys think? If Brendan Fraser was at the Golden Globes, do you think he would have won? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section below. I will say that Fraser's SAG win was substantial. A lot of people were predicting Butler to triumph there, and Fraser still came through. Fraser's win at the SAG illustrates that actors do support Fraser and his comeback, and actors do make up the largest branch of the Academy's voting membership. However, SAG is more a reflection of actors than it is the whole Academy. And typically, the Academy tends to agree with BAFTA for Best Actor, which means Austin Butler is in the prime position to win. Him winning would make it 10 straight years in a row where BAFTA and Oscars match in this category. I know it seems like Fraser has a good chance because of his narrative and his wins at Critics' Choice and SAG, but you know who also had those wins and an even better narrative? Chadwick Boseman. That's right, he won Critics' Choice and SAG and then lost the BAFTA to Anthony Hopkins, who then went on to win the Oscar. And arguably, Chadwick Boseman had a much juicier narrative working for him than Brendan Fraser. Chadwick Boseman was going to receive the Oscar posthumously, whereas Fraser has a comeback narrative. Chadwick Boseman's tragic untimely death gave voters a reason to vote for Chadwick Boseman, but did they take the bait? No. There's been plenty of occasions where the Academy don't let sentimental reasons affect the way they vote. The whole comeback or overdue narrative hasn't been all that beneficial for a lot of people this past decade. It didn't work for Glenn Close, it didn't work for Michael Keaton, it didn't work for Mickey Rourke, who was also in a Darren Aronofsky film like Brendan Fraser and was seen as a triumphant comeback. Is history just gonna repeat itself, and is Brendan Fraser just gonna be like a repeat of Mickey Rourke? It very well could be. Like The Wrestler, which got 2 Oscar nominations, one for lead actor for Mickey Rourke and one for supporting actress for Marissa Tomei, The Whale only has 3 nominations. Best Actor for Brendan Fraser, Best Supporting Actress for Hong Chow, and it also got a hair and makeup nomination as well. Mickey Rourke, who seemed like the comeback kid, eventually lost the Oscar to Sean Penn for Milk. Because guess what? Milk was a Best Picture nominated film, okay? That stuff really helps. Natalie Portman did win Best Actress for a Darren Aronofsky film, Black Swan, but Black Swan was nominated for Best Picture. The parallels between The Wrestler and The Whale are spookily similar. Some people say that Mickey Rourke lost the Oscar because he wasn't very well liked in the industry, and let's face it, Brendan Fraser does not have that problem, okay? He is very much beloved. But the fact that The Whale didn't get a Best Picture nomination seriously damages Brendan Fraser's chances of winning. We haven't had a Best Actor win at the Oscars without at least a Best Picture nomination attached to it since 2010 when Jeff Bridges won for Crazy Heart. While Jeff Bridges pulled it off, he was seen as someone way overdue for recognition. He had 4 previous acting nominations before Crazy Heart, so yeah, people thought, okay, now it's time. This is Brendan Fraser's first nomination. He's not seen as someone overdue for recognition by the Academy, okay? And the lack of a Best Picture nomination is a huge obstacle for him to overcome. But it's not impossible. Nicolas Cage, Forest Whitaker, Denzel Washington in Training Day, they all won Best Actor without a Best Picture nomination. It's just recent Oscars history suggests to us that a Best Picture nomination is essential in order to win Best Actor nowadays. Which is funny because it's a totally different situation when it comes to Best Actress. It certainly does help if you are a Best Actress in a Best Picture contender, but it's not a necessity. In fact, big transformative performances that did prevail in Best Actress at the Oscars, like Meryl Streep and Jessica Chastain, won without a Best Picture nomination. And you know what they all had as well? A hair and makeup win, and The Whale could win in Best Hair and Makeup. Could Fraser do what they did? The film wins hair and makeup makeup and subsequently awards the actor that was, the recipient of all the hair and makeup that the film boasts. It's hard to say because all those ladies were playing real life figures, whereas Brendan Fraser is playing a fictional character. And you know who's not playing a fictional character and has some makeup involved? That's right, Austin Butler for Elvis. In fact, he's playing one of the most recognizable icons of the industry ever, which is another positive for Austin Butler. So while it's not as likely in Best Actor, it has been seen in other categories in recent years. Jessica Chastain, like Brendan Fraser, won the Critics' Choice, won the SAG, and then went on to win the Oscar. And the film also collected hair and makeup. And Jessica Chastain's film wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but on the flip side, no one's performance in Best Actress that year was nominated for Best Picture. So somebody had to win, and Brendan Fraser does not have that luxury, sadly. He's got two fellow nominees who are in heavily nominated Best Picture contenders. So yeah, comparing Brendan Fraser to Jessica Chastain is like apples and oranges. But yeah, let's see who wins hair and makeup on Oscars night. If it does go to The Whale, then that's gonna make me think that, oh, maybe Brendan Fraser could pull this off. But if it does go to Elvis, then it tells me the Academy have just gone all in on Elvis, and yeah, Austin Butler's gonna win Best Actor as well. It would be interesting to see a split, like hair and makeup goes to Elvis, but Brendan Fraser wins the Oscar, or vice versa. But yeah, like Jessica Chastain last year, or Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour, or Marion Cotillard in La Vie en Rose, they do like to pair the hair and makeup with an actor's performance. There's usually a correlation there. Another positive for Brendan Fraser is that he is about the right age to win Best Actor at the Oscars. He's 54 years old, and typically at the Oscars, they tend to acknowledge more seasoned performers rather than those that are just starting out, like Austin Butler. And Brendan Fraser has had an impressive career, okay? He's paid his dues. He was a leading man in the 90s. And as we've seen in recent years at the Oscars, the Academy has been honoring the leading men stars of the 90s with like Brad Pitt winning, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Will Smith last year. Does Brendan Fraser's name have the same cachet as those actors? I'm not sure, because all those actors I just mentioned all had previous nominations before they won. This is Brendan Fraser's first. But it can be done. Look at Matthew McConaughey. But again, Dallas Buyers Club did have a Best Picture nomination. And last, but by certainly no means least, we've got Austin Butler for his star-making, earth-shaking, hip-thrusting performance as Elvis Presley in Elvis. What's working for and against him? Well, let's start off by saying that he's playing a legend of the industry, Elvis Presley. A really beloved figure of the entertainment industry. It is the definition of an Oscar baity role. A real-life historical and influential figure is Academy catnip. Look at Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland, Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawking, Meryl Streep as Margaret Thatcher, Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln, Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour, and most notably is Rami Malek for his similar performance as Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. If Malek can win for miming his way through Live Aid, then Austin Butler can absolutely win for actually damaging his vocal cords, singing as Elvis, and gyrating perfectly as the king of rock and roll. Elvis also did very well with its Oscar nominations. It got 8 in total, actually got some significant nominations like in editing and Best Picture. Remember, Best Picture is critical in the Best Actor department. Also, Elvis made over $150 million at the box office worldwide, meaning people have seen this movie. And with Elvis receiving 8 Academy Award nominations versus The Whale's 3, that gives Academy voters incentive to prioritize watching Elvis over The Whale. And like Brendan Fraser, Austin Butler also transformed into this role, nailing Presley's voice, cadence, physicality, especially during the performance sequences. It's the type of hardcore method acting that the Academy usually rewards. Daniel Day-Lewis won his first ever Oscar at age 32, Austin Butler is 31, for his very committed performance as a man with cerebral palsy in My Left Foot. Leonardo DiCaprio tortured himself for The Revenant, plunging himself into freezing cold waters and adverse weather conditions, and he even ate raw bison, and he's a vegetarian. And that was all in service of the art, but really, what else could the Academy do but reward him for like putting himself through all that? Like, the Academy could see the lengths that Leo was willing to go to. It's like, okay, give him the Oscar. And it's kind of the same situation with Austin Butler. Both Austin Butler and his team have been very vocal in his process that he undertook in order to become Elvis Presley. He really did live, breathe, and sleep Elvis Presley. He's spent months in character, listening to recordings of Elvis to nail the voice perfectly. And he did such a good job that he still sounds like Elvis in real life.
Thank you for your generosity in championing me when you did not have to. I'm so grateful.
It's as if he hasn't been able to shake off the character. The only thing that concerns me about him still talking like Elvis is, will some voters see that as him trying a little too hard? Like, look at me, everybody, I'm still in character. This character affected me and changed me so much that I can't shake off Elvis Presley. He is a part of me now. So look at what lengths I've gone to, you know, win this Oscar. So they might just be like, okay, the kid's earned it. Whereas some voters might be like, okay, this kid wants it a little too much. I'm gonna give my vote to somebody else. But hey, even if Austin Butler is still talking a bit like Elvis, he is still working the scene. He's going to every event, getting his face out there, charming people. Like, he is doing everything he needs in order to win. And I know that Brendan Fraser does have a comeback narrative, but Austin Butler also does have a little bit of a narrative now that Lisa Marie Presley tragically passed away shortly after Austin Butler won his Golden Globe. So if Austin Butler wins, you know, for playing her father, it in a way kind of honors and celebrates both Elvis Presley and Lisa Marie Presley. There is a sort of, you know, sympathetic, poetic narrative there. But again, I have to come back to the fact that having a narrative hasn't been all that helpful in the past decade. Austin Butler also has some vocal support from some very influential figures in the Academy, such as Denzel Washington and Tom Cruise, okay? If you've got top dogs like Washington and Cruise vouching for you, then you've got a fantastic support network there. And the last positive is probably the most important one, and that is that Austin Butler has won the most important precursor, which is BAFTA. He did win the Golden Globe, but the BAFTA is far more reliable. That BAFTA win is what makes him the obvious frontrunner. But what's working against Austin Butler, besides him still doing the Elvis voice? Honestly, not that much. He's in a Best Picture contender and he won the BAFTA, okay? That's a winner's package right there. But part of me does wonder, is the reason that Butler triumphed at the BAFTAs because BAFTA have a hard-on for Baz Luhrmann films in general? But even hearing me say that makes me feel like I'm really searching to find reasons for them not to give it to Austin Butler. I really have to go looking for reasons why they wouldn't give it to Austin Butler. And the only things that I can think of is that before Butler won BAFTA and Golden Globe, he hadn't collected any Best Actor prizes, you know, in critics groups, which is a little odd. Even Rami Malek managed to collect a few critics prizes before he started winning the precursors. And the only other thing that I can think of is his age. He's still quite young, not as young as Paul Mescal, who was 26 when he was nominated, 27 now, but Austin Butler is 31, which is still quite young for a Best Actor winner. Like I said, typically with Best Actor, they tend to give this award out to someone in their 40s or 50s, kind of as acknowledgement for all the work they put in over their career. And this is Austin Butler's breakout role, okay? He's just getting started. But again, with this year, I don't think that's gonna matter all that much because all the nominees in this category are on an even playing field because they're all first-time nominees. Age shouldn't really matter. And yes, Austin Butler might not be the typical age that someone wins Best Actor at the Oscars, but the demographic that I thought he'd have the hardest time trying to win over is older voters in the Academy. Because why would they want to give their vote to a newcomer when they've seen the work of, you know, much more seasoned individuals in the acting category? But I don't think Butler's gonna have that problem with the older voters because of the character he's playing. He's playing someone who the older voters of the Academy know of, you know, from their youth, someone that they listen to and watch. Like, even if they don't have a lot of love and respect for Austin Butler yet, they probably do have some internal bias for like the character he's playing because a lot of them would have grown up listening to Elvis Presley, liking his music, liking who he was, and they may want to just celebrate, you know, a performance of a figure from someone that they have a lot of nostalgia for and a lot of love for. So they might just go with Austin Butler because, yeah, they like Elvis the person. The Academy very rarely gives Best Actor to a young, pretty boy, heartthrob, breakout performance like Austin Butler's in Elvis, okay? Like, look at the leading men of Hollywood, like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio. None of them could win in their youth. Even Timothée Chalamet couldn't win on his first go. So would Austin Butler buck that trend? Farrell, Fraser, and Nighy have all had longer careers, so would they want to honor someone who is fresh on the scene? Part of me does wonder, will some Oscar voters view this whirlwind year that Austin Butler has had with his breakout performance in Elvis and his subsequent Oscar nomination as enough validation and enough recognition? But yeah, this role has done so much for him already. It's made him an A-list star, a heartthrob, and an Oscar-nominated actor, and like it's opened the doors for so many, opportunities for him. He's gonna be one of Hollywood's leading men in the future, and he's gonna be in the next Dune movie, for God's sakes. Is all of that gonna be seen as enough validation for this 31-year-old? Some voters may think this young man has everything laid out before him now. Does he need an Oscar to go with all that? But yeah, having said all that, there is still a chance that the Oscars will forget about his age, disregard the fact that he's quite young, and go with the usual statistics, which Butler's got. He's got the BAFTA win, and he's also in a Best Picture contender. So yeah, Austin Butler really is the logical pick this year. All signs point to Austin Butler winning the Oscar. But there's something about this year which makes it so difficult for me to commit to saying it's gonna be Austin Butler. And that is that the running order of this year's precursors is slightly different to normal years. In a normal year, it would go SAGs, then BAFTAs, with the BAFTA winners influencing the Oscars in the last-minute surge before Oscar voting closes. But this year, it went BAFTAs, then SAGs, and what was even more bizarre was that all 4 of the acting winners at BAFTA didn't match at SAG. We got 4 completely different acting winners at BAFTA and SAGs, okay? In the 22 years that BAFTA has been a precursor to the Oscars, we have never seen that happen, where the 4 BAFTA didn't have some overlap with the SAGs. But the thing with the BAFTAs and the Oscars is that they do share a sizable amount of overlap in their voter membership. But will Oscar voters be swayed by the last-minute surge of the SAG winners? Will Brendan Fraser's emotional speech influence people to either vote for him or give The Whale one final watch and be, deeply moved by the last 10 minutes where he absolutely knocks it out of the park? It could happen. His win at the SAG is incentive for people to check out his performance. And final Oscar voting takes place between March 2nd and March 7th this year. Or will they just do what they've done the past 9 years and stick with their original pick and give it to Austin Butler? That's also a very likely outcome. Honestly, there hasn't been an awards season race like this in the acting categories like ever. It's unprecedented that we've had 0 matches aligned from the SAG and the BAFTAs. So that means the Oscars are in this position where they can choose which way they want to go. Do they want to align more with who won at SAG? Do they want to align more with BAFTA? Is it going to be a pick and mix of both? Yeah, honestly, we've not quite seen it before, which is why I don't feel certain saying Austin Butler's got it in the bag. Ordinarily for Best Actor, I would say just go with the BAFTA winner because there is a tremendous overlap with BAFTA and Oscars for Best Actor. But with this year and Austin Butler winning the Golden Globe, then Fraser getting the Critics' Choice, and then Butler winning the BAFTA, then Fraser winning the SAG, nobody really has the momentum. There's no sweeper this year in any acting category, so it's left things up in the air. Austin Butler definitely has the better package to win, but he hasn't swept this award season. Brendan Fraser has managed to pull through on more than one occasion, so that makes me think that people, even if they don't like The Whale, they really do like Brendan Fraser's performance. I'm probably overthinking it and letting personal bias get in the way because I really would prefer to see Brendan Fraser win this. But here's the thing, both Austin Butler and Brendan Fraser gave 2 of the most discussed performances of the entire year. Both these performances got people excited and talking. But in my heart, only one of them ignited that immediate feeling after I watched it that this is an Academy Award winning performance. That was Brendan Fraser. It's a performance that left me in tears, and I know it did for a lot of other people, and I know there's gonna be some people in the comment section saying that Austin Butler did the exact same thing for them, but this was my experience watching both of these performances, okay? I came out of The Whale thinking that is an Academy Award winning performance. It's that gut feeling that I've had for other performances like Joaquin Phoenix in Joker, Will Smith in King Richard, Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, and Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. And with Austin Butler and Elvis, I had a similar response to it. I came out of it thinking, Austin Butler's gonna be nominated for an Oscar for that role. That was tremendous. But I didn't think, oh, that's gonna win right away. And he absolutely can win. He is the bookie's favorite to win. He makes more rational sense to predict because he ticks more boxes than Brendan Fraser. That's just a fact. But sometimes with the Oscars, you have to put facts and stats and logic aside and listen to your heart. It could very well be just personal bias clouding my judgment, but my heart says it's Brendan Fraser. Even with the huge obstacles to overcome with no Best Picture nomination and no BAFTA win, I still think he can pull it off. There's an X factor about Brendan Fraser that I can't put into words. My head says go Austin Butler, my heart says go Brendan Fraser, and my gut can't make up its mind. Will the Academy want to honor the hot new breakout star who has everything working for him, or will they want to give someone who's been around a while? Is Brendan Fraser a Matthew McConaughey or a Mickey Rourke? I know it's tempting to be seduced by a narrative, but I've seen narratives fail so many times in the recent past with Glenn Close and Chadwick Boseman. Sometimes they just go with statistics, and the sentimentality of a narrative doesn't trump that. Austin Butler is the statistical and sensible prediction for Best Actor, so I should just predict him. Everything that Oscars history has taught us about the Oscars tells us it's going to be him. But there are also always exceptions to the rule. Is Brendan Fraser going to be an exception? I know I should predict Austin Butler to win here, but I kind of want to take a risk. I want to listen to my heart rather than my head. Even though I know I'm most likely going to be wrong and I'm going to be disappointed, I still want to believe that Fraser can win. I know I'm living in denial, ignoring the stats, but I like living in hope and optimism, you know? And part of me does believe Brendan Fraser can win this, and part of me wants to see it happen. Like, I know my head's probably gonna be correct and Austin Butler will probably win this, but I would rather be wrong knowing I took a risk rather than playing it safe but still getting it wrong, if that makes any sense. I feel like it would sting me more if I played it safe by predicting Butler, but Fraser ended up winning it anyway, rather than going with my heart by predicting Fraser, but Butler winning it anyway and me getting it wrong, which feels like the more likely outcome in this scenario. Like, I would be more bothered with myself for not going with my heart in this instance, because it means I'm ignoring my instincts. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can live with an incorrect prediction here, but I would rather take a chance and be wrong than play it safe. Something in the universe is telling me to go for Brendan Fraser rather than Austin Butler. So I'm gonna do it. I'm predicting that the Best Actor Oscar is gonna go to Brendan Fraser. I know. What am I doing? Admirable? Maybe. Foolish? Very likely. But hey, no guts, no glory. But there you have it though, guys. That was my prediction for the Best Actor Oscar 2023. Who are you predicting will win Best Actor? Please let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, help me out by hitting the little thumbs up button. For more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to subscribe. Also, stay tuned for more Oscar deep dive discussions and prediction videos. I'm gonna be doing Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. If you've got any more categories you want me to do a deep dive on, let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, for more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and I'll see you next time.